Well, India's relentless diplomatic and military pressure on China has forced the dragon to bend. In a short while from now, in about half an hour from now, the 6th Corps Commander level talks between the two countries will get underway. The Indian side will be represented by Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, as well as members of the ITBP and Ministry of External Affairs representative as well. India is going ahead with a 5-point consensus agenda, which includes telling China to withdraw from all friction points between Depsang and Pangong Lake and insist on a free and unhindered access to 15 patrolling points. So the 6th round of Corps Commander level talks that are going to take place in Moldo. Let's try and break down the information that we have at the moment with regards to this significant meeting, coming as it does after two political engagements that we saw in Moscow between Rajnath Singh and his Chinese counterpart General Y, as well as S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. Meanwhile, the Corps Commander level talks are going to take place between India and China. These talks will be held on the other side of the LAC in Moldo. This is going to start at 11:30 a.m. and this is the 6th round of talk that is going to happen between the Corps commanders. Talks are going to take place in Moldo, which is on the Chinese side of the LAC. So we've seen the talks taking place either in Moldo or Chushul, which is on the Indian side of the LAC. In a first, meanwhile, India's Joint Secretary East Asia in the Ministry of External Affairs is going to be present in the meeting. Naveen Srivastav, who is the Joint Secretary Ministry of External Affairs, has been heading the WMCC format diplomatic talks. 4 talks at that level have also happened since this crisis emerged in eastern Ladakh. So he has been taking an update intermittently from June to now with regards to the developments as far as a disengagement on the ground are concerned. But this time it was decided that the ambit of the talks will be increased for the simple reason that the diplomats are in the know of exactly what has been discussed and decided at the military level, because these are operational details, and what the diplomats do is primarily take an update on how much of that which has been decided during the military level talks has been accomplished. But it is important that everybody is on the same page, and so far we have not seen the military level talks separately yielding any result, and that is why it was decided to increase the ambit of these talks. Let me go across to Shreya Dhondiyal now, who's joining us with the very latest on this. Shreya, realistically speaking, what are the expectations from the 6th round of Corps Commander level talks?
Realistically speaking, Maha, the expectations are very low. It's about 11 o'clock and the meeting should be just about getting underway. There's a whole process to the meeting getting underway. So that should be happening now in Moldo, which is on the Chinese side. Realistically, expectations are low because of the fact that there have been 5 Corps Commander level meetings. Previously, there have been WMCC meetings. There have been political level engagements. There have been special representative level engagements. And in all these engagements, around 10 meetings or so, there has been no breakthrough. So it's unrealistic to expect any sort of breakthrough in a military level talk, as it were, Maha. But what we are being told is that the meeting will be considered a success if both the army commanders, that's the 14th Corps Commander and his Chinese counterpart, Major General Liu Lin, somehow come to an agreement that the situation on the ground needs to be kept stable and mechanisms are put in place for the situation at the LAC in eastern Ladakh not to escalate, not to go kinetic. Let me just give you a quick illustration on why we think that these talks alone will not achieve anything. The fact is that Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, who's responsible for the Leh-based 14th Corps, really the man in the hot seat, as it were, retires in mid of October. His successor is Lieutenant General Menon, and Lieutenant General Menon is also part of this meeting, and that is a first. You also know, and you've already spoken about it, the Joint Secretary of the MEA is going to be part of this meeting as well. Correct. Which means that next time there's a diplomatic level talk, there is no confusion or discrepancies as far as the Chinese are concerned with these military level talks. Okay. Because previously, the military has been telling us that, in military level talks, they'll say something. In diplomatic level talks,
Right.
they'll say something. In political level talks, they'll say something.
Right.
So just to ensure that everyone is on the same page, might as well have everyone in this meeting.
All right, Shreya, stay on with us. General Kulkarni is also with us on the show. General Kulkarni, first of all, help us understand, sir, in the 6th round of Corps Commander talks, where we are seeing the ambit being increased and these talks happening after 2 political engagements in Moscow, should we consider this more significant than the other 5 that have happened?
Definitely. I would say they should be seen in a different light, because what exactly transpired on the 29th, 30th of August and the occupation of certain dominating heights by the Indian Army, thereafter the Moscow level talks between the 2 defense ministers, followed thereafter with the foreign ministers, and now these are the talks which are leading to today, in which there is now a representative of a joint secretary level from the Ministry of External Affairs. Now that would mean both the diplomatic front as also the military front, both are on the same page, and hopefully this should lead to some kind of disengagement. Otherwise, the Chinese are not walking the talk. They're not honoring the commitments. And the 5 talks that have taken place between the corps commanders have actually not led to anything substantial other than at Galwan. I can say a little substantial thing did take place at Galwan. But after that, nothing much has happened. The finger 4, finger 8, all over you find same. Even amassing of the troops by the Chinese along the border, that hasn't reduced. In fact, that's increasing day by day. So all this should lead to something worthwhile. If this also doesn't lead to it, I think that's bad times to come then.
All right, but there has been a change of the situation on the ground as well. What has that been? Why has the dragon been forced back to the talking table? There has been some military maneuver on the south bank of Pangong Lake that has actually resulted in the Chinese coming back to talking about this issue again after stalling the disengagement process for some time in North Bank, Depsang, as well as Gogra. These are some of the areas which India has recaptured. These are strategic peaks that are back with India for the first time since 1962. They were India's, but the fact that now India has positioned its troops there have given India dominant position in the south bank of Pangong Lake. These are all mentioned here: Gurung Hill in the Chushul subsector, Magar Hill in the Chushul subsector, Mukpari in the Chushul subsector, and Renchingla in the Chushul subsector. In fact, it was Mukpari where the Indian troops were moving between in the intervening nights of 29th and 30th August, which had in fact resulted in that face-off on the south bank of Pangong Lake as well. But this is what has given India really a dominant position. Even Finger 4 Heights, the ridge line in Pangong Lake, this is on the north bank of Pangong Lake. So all these are very strategic positions. General Kulkarni is still with us, and General Kulkarni will be able to throw more light on these strategic points that have been retaken by India. In fact, positioned its troops there. General Kulkarni, help us understand these strategic points that I was mentioning and how this has been in some sense a game changer, at least in bringing China back on the talking table.
Yeah, you're right. You know what happens is, after all, mountains favor the defender. And when you're occupying such dominating heights, they just not lead to domination by observation, but also domination by fire. The north bank of Pangangso has virtually become redundant, much that they might be occupying finger 4 to finger 8 in terms of a real estate. But in case of a balloon going up, they are absolutely useless positions to be held when you're dominating them, both by observation and fire. And when you're occupying on the southern bank of Pangangso, such dominating heights and strategic heights like Helmet Top, Black Top, Magar Hill, Gurung Hill, Rechenla, Razangla, you know, all this leads to almost the foreclosure of the Chushul options, which he might be wanting to use it, because you find that the entire option has become from virtually from no-go from the very start, for a very simple reason that you're occupying dominating heights along that particular approach. And therefore, the Chinese have realized that, yes, right now, the Indian army seems to be in a dominating position and they are on the back foot. So much better now to come for talks and disengage. It is in their interest. It is totally in their interest, because they started it and they must realize it. And now that we are in a position of strength, Now, the reason why the Chinese are now coming again for a talk, and you saw the way they were virtually requesting the defense minister for a conversation, for a talk, or a discussion, and the way the Russians have got involved in it is indicative that yes, the Chinese acknowledge the strength of the Indian armed forces.
All right, Lieutenant General Kulkarni, many thanks for speaking with us. This is the situation as it exists in eastern Ladakh at the moment. 6th round of Corps Commander level talks to start shortly in about 20 minutes from now in Moldo, where an Indian delegation, which comprises this time of a diplomat as well, will be engaging with the Chinese side. We're moving on now to the story that is coming in from